joy, craziness, and spontaneity. She has so much love about her. And I think with all the crew, everybody that she had working around her, there was love. I mean, you could just feel it everywhere. And it was a joy to work with her and her crew. You know, Harvey Korman, Vicki Lawrence, Lyle Wagner, yes, Mr. Graves from Mission Impossible. But it was great fun. And it was very interesting how really nobody ever really followed the script. And yet, I think that was part of the genius of Carol and her cast that she assembled around her, was that they were all on the same wavelength. You know, if something went one way, then the other one would pick up. And then somehow or another, they'd get pulled back to what the skit should be about. Uh, the fun of it all was the joy of doing the Carol Burnett show. She was gracious to her guest and, of course, to her audience. You know, I think when she did those question and answers were great. In fact, I loved it so much that I wound up putting questions and answers in my show. The only problem I had was I was enjoying the questions and answers more than the show sometimes. So I had to put a kind of a time limit on it. But I remember somebody asked me, what sign were you born under? And I said, Foster and Kaiser. So it gives oneself a chance to really think of answers. And I think that was part of the joy, I think, that Carol did when she did the questions and answers. And of course, working with choreographer, you know, Ernie Flatt and everything, I always wanted to be a dancer. And Debbie Reynolds told me, forget about it, just keep singing. But I did enjoy it. And those costumes that you see in the show, it reminded me of Busby Berkeley and Flo Ziegfeld, you know. You were trying to do your turns without crashing into anybody else's headdress. And the colors, everything was so vibrant and fun. And, you know, when you compare it to what's happening now in television, it's an era I think we all dearly, dearly miss. I know that Carol did a Broadway show, Once Upon a Mattress. And she, I guess, started out singing. And I don't know if Carol, as a recording artist, let's say, would have had a hit record. But for her to take all that comedic talent that was within her and share it in her songs, you know, is fantastic. She was able to successfully combine the both. And she had the joy of still being able to sing and also the joy of making people laugh. I don't recall when we first met, the truth. It might have been on the show. And at that time, how you were selected, at least was when you were a top artist on radio and your records were playing or you had a hit record and you would go on her show. And I loved my costume that I had. Oh, that was the most gorgeous pink. And then the balloon thing with the skirt. I kind of looked at it and I said, wow. It was all circusy. It was happy. It was joyful. And I think that's how the audience would feel afterwards. And especially when we would all come back. And of course, when you had guests on, like Flip Wilson, forget it. Geraldine, I know you did it. I know you did it. It was hysterical. The manager probably contacted the agents for the show and said, you know, Vicki, or maybe Carol's called and said, we'd like Vicki Carr on the show. And at that time, maybe there was an album or a single that I was promoting, and that would be the song that I would do. But that song that I did, holy creakiners, I was watching it, and it starts very low, go da 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 da, and then at the end I'm saying, "Go for it, girl! You can do it! You can do it! I know you can do it!" Boy, it went up a whole octave, and I said, "The kid still has it. You know, she still has it. I'm still singing." And to me, it's amazing that all my songs, everything I recorded back in the 60s and the 70s, we do a retro show, which gives us a chance to do those songs that everybody loved. And it brings back such wonderful memories to everybody, and they can sing along, that I can still sing everything in my original keys. So I'm very proud of that, and I thank you, God. You know, it truly was a gift. But once I did get on the show, and you're all nervous, you know, when you're all going to meet each other, and you're wondering, oh my gosh. And then, but she instantly put everybody at ease, you know, and they made you feel like you were really part of the family. And as funny and as slapstick as it may have seemed at time, they were professionals, though. And I think that was the secret. They never fully let it get that far away. Or if it did get that far away, it was because there was no way, Jose, you were ever going to save it. And it actually became more hysterical because the audience, I think at that time, felt, oh my gosh, we're seeing something that nobody else is seeing, you know. They made mistakes and they're laughing about it, you know. So it was a joy to work with her. When he comes in as Geraldine, and it's funny because as a fellow performer and artist, I could tell when he did his monologue, you know, the comedy bit, that he was a little nervous, you know, because I can tell myself when I'm on a show, when I'm kind of searching and I'm wondering where am I going to go with this, although the end of the story was absolutely fantastic and it was very funny. Oh, Mr. Suave, Mr. Handsome. I was so surprised. I was in, where the heck was I in Mexico? Uh, I believe it was Mazatlan. He had a home there, an incredible home, and we were staying at the hotel where they did 10 in, I think it was Mazatlan. And from where our suite was, where we were staying, you could look down, and Lyle Wagner's incredible home was there. And I believe Architectural Digest, you know, did a whole spread on, a photo spread out on his home there. And he was a gentleman, was always very professional, I think, compared to, say, the rest of the crew that were kind of Looney Tunes. Or maybe he was just as loony as everybody else, only he carried it very properly. I was mistaken for Vicki Lawrence a lot. People used to tell me, oh my gosh, I love you on the Carol Burnett show. And I said, oh, thank you, thank you. That's not me, but thank you. I'll tell her. And then, of course, she had some wonderful hit records. And then she went on to have her incredible show. She was hysterical. She was fantastic with Ken Berry, and I'm sure she had a lot of humor in her, and I'm envious that she had a chance to work with some of those incredible comedians, really. on Carol's show, because I'm sure that was great training for her. And she was a hysterical gal. There were certain shows that you would always watch. You know, you'd sit down and say, it's time to laugh. And uh, we would watch, say, Sonny and Cher, just to see what Cher was going to wear. And that was a very wonderful show, too. There was, you know, we were blessed during that era to have some incredible talent and very successful shows. I think it was about a week, and they were not that complicated, you know, for the guest stars. I think as you're watching the show, you'll see how some of the principals, all of a sudden they disappear, and all of a sudden you see the real dancers dancing. And then Carol will come down the center, and then we were always there for the finale, you know, so trying not to bump into each other with our headdresses. Well, they were very interesting to get in and out of, you know, and it was a good thing that we had done the choreography, and we just followed. Do the next one, just, you know, do this and do your little steps. I don't think they tried to give us too much to do if we were singers and all. I think they left the intricate dancing, say, to Vicki Lawrence, who did a cute little hobo thing in the show that we were in. And, but I wanted to also be a dancer, but it didn't work out. And actually, though, when I got married, I did some things for myself. I wound up taking dancing classes and wound up winning 12 first place ribbons. And this was before Dancing with the Stars, okay? So a lot of people say, well, why don't you do that? Why don't you do that? And I said, been there, done that, got my trophy, got my ribbons, don't need to. The reason Carol's show passes the test of time is it was a nicer time. It was a more peaceful time. Even with the war, Vietnam War and everything, it was a gentler time. A time that we all want to go back to. You know, music, when I do Can't Take My Eyes Off You, when I do my tribute to Sinatra, when I do my tribute to Nat King Cole, people love it. They remember it's such great memories. And that's really what our generation, I'm talking about myself, we have. And the people that come to see my shows, they're not just my generation, but they're also the children and the grandchildren. And with my Spanish music, they said, we were raised with you. Every Sunday at our grandpa's or our parents' house, it was dinner, and then my grandpa would say, now shut up, everybody, we're going to listen to Vicky Carr. And it was romance, it was love songs, it was soap operas in those days. My mom, from her radio up until General Hospital, and that's still on, isn't it? Good grief. And as a matter of fact, I think I talked about General Hospital in one of my live performances at the Greek, and I did mention something about after I finished the story, how I said, no wonder Carol calls it As the Stomach Turns. Even though I think Carol became fans of the shows too. I think we all did. Mine was, what was the other one of the designers? Bold and the Beautiful? She's telling me. I think if anything, I might not ask her a question, but I might ask her advice. You know, because I feel she's an intelligent woman who has been through so much. You know, and I think sometimes you look up to your peers and you wonder if I had a chance to ask you, what would it be? You know, and how did you cope with this part of it, of your life personally, and how did you cope with this? I once asked God, George Burns, a question. We were at Danny Thomas's, you know, for the St. Jude shows we used to do. And I said, you know, Mr. Burns, I said, so many young people ask me, how can I get in the business? You know, how can I do it? How can I do it? And George took the cigar out of his mouth and he goes, the minute they ask you, they're never going to make it. Who did you ask? And then I thought about it. I said, nobody. He said, you do it. Nothing is easy. You know, if that's what you want, I think it's been a running dialogue with our interview here is, if you want something, go for it, do it, no matter what it may be. I mean, it does matter what it would be, but, you know, for the good, for good. I think we're all put on earth to do something and to do something good and to help others. And Carol, I think, has helped a lot of people with laughter and moments that they will never, ever forget. Her Gone with the Wind, the classic, when she takes those drapes and makes that dress. Incredible. You know, maybe sketches were written for her, but Carol made them hers. I'm so glad we had this time together, just to have a laugh or sing a song. Seems we just got started, and before you know it, comes the time we have to say so long.
The Carol Burnett Show, I know when my mother loves it, her like she did, that's a good opinion. That was our most fun. My mother said, oh my gosh, Carol, the most wonderful thing, Carol Burnett wants you to be on her show. So I traveled across the country and, oh gosh, I always loved Carol. I always did. She's a great girl, you know. That's something nobody goes into, but she's a friend when she's a friend. Wow. Oh, isn't that great? What's that? Somebody's mouth. No, I was hoping it was Carol Burnett's. It's mine. Huh. I didn't know it was that big. Well, usually I tried to do what I already tried out with an audience. I mean, then I know I'm all right. Ain't misbehaving, saving all I have got for you. Very few people like her. Oh, that sounds like very few people liked her. No, very few, there are. Very few people like her. She is so generous. She wants you to be good. She just gets thrilled if she sees you doing it the way she feels that and the audience is going for it. She wore Bob Mackie exclusively, didn't she? Oh, I wore them on anybody's show. He was fabulous. I was a dramatic neighbor. That's how I knew Steve Lawrence. I'm gonna go to Vegas and see him. Harvey Korman. Oh, how wonderful she shared these great people with me. You know, that's something it's hard for some actors to do. Not Carol. I kept getting more and more pregnant as it was going on. And Carol was just heaven. She made it all the more. She was amazed, you know. And I kept wondering, well, what's she looking at? From the time I can remember, I was already up there on the school auditorium stage. Yes. I mean, dream about it. I was doing it in school, you know, just like probably Carol was. It's something tells you, get up on that stage of it. So I did imitations of the faculty, the principal of the school, Miss Berard. I did and I was vice president of the student body finally, because if Carol's your vice, it's a virtue. My father used to sit in his office and work out slogans for me to win, you see. And so all these slogans, I use them on Carol. If Carol's your vice, it's a virtue. Well, I was in a review called Lend an Ear. Oh, those reviews, they were so great. Charles Gaynor wrote it. See, in London, they have little shows. The little show they have and all that. Oh, they're wonderful shows. Little bitty reviews. I would do impressions and sing songs and all that, whatever was going on Broadway. Down on the left foot, down on the right. Swing out your elbows, get in the fight. Follow the music. That's the Charleston. So we were left over from the 20s and we were lost. The Lost Road Company was the name of that sketch. Oh, follow the new step, doing the old Yahoo step, who step, who step, that old Yahoo step. Somehow 5,000 sticks in my mind. Somebody said, if anybody asks you that, you did 5,000. I didn't audition, they wrote it for me. David Merrick was just, well, you see, a hit show, everybody loves one another. They've all done right by each other. Everybody has been wonderfully helpful. Everybody has been the best to make the whole show work. And Carol knows that more than anyone. Oh, she makes it work better than anybody. She does. You can see I have a streak of Carol Burnett in me too. That's why I recognize her so quickly. I mean, I'm proud of that. Jean Kerr, Walter Kerr's wife, came to Boston where we were trying it out. And she got on the phone. She says she got on the phone the moment it was over and said, boy, have I got a girl for you. Walter Kerr was the great critic in New York at the time. And so was Al Hirschfeld, the cartoons. He was on the New York Times. That's the greatest review you can get. And he did me several Sundays for Sunday editions. Oh, he loved Carol Burnett. And he loved me. I was proud of it. Oh, well, they were the same ones all the time. You see, in the theater, there are 3 balconies. Well, the third one is way up there. So you just have to wear eyelashes that make you look the same up there as you do right down here in the first row in the orchestra. There was a place called Finocchio's. They had a contest. Who could look the most like Carol Channing or Carol Burnett? Carol talked me into it. She said, oh, why don't you go ahead and well, she did. She said, you join the parade and see, you know, do you know that I came in 3rd? Who could look the most like Carol Channing? And so she didn't do who could look the most like Carol Burnett. because she knew what they were going to do. But boy, we had fun with that. And Carol said, that's fine, that's fine. She's strangely eager to put other performers over. Gee, she's unusual that way. She's just wonderful. I can't tell you enough about Carol Burnett, about her generosity, and on her show, and how she worried about me, and she'd come and say, for gosh sake, stop sweating, Carol. You know, now let me fix you. So she'd fix all the perspiration and everything. Carol, I love you. I just love you. You're the most generous talent to other talents. Let me tell you, nobody else is like you in the business. You're just, I adore you.
I met Carol when she was a co-star, I guess, on the Gary Moore show in New York. My agent, I had been booked in June, and this was about January or something. And my agent said, why don't we go stop by and meet Carol and Gary, and because you're going to be on the show. I said, well, no. I said, they're going to be rehearsing. I don't want to interrupt them. And you know, today I would have said, yeah, let's go. But I didn't want to interrupt, so we did, and then we stood there while they were rehearsing, and they were trying to, they were focused, so they had to finish up on something. They finally turned and said hi to me, and so we said hello to each other. I was very nervous and anxious to let them alone, and so I said goodbye, and I turned to leave, and I made a wrong turn, and it went like this. See you later. I'll see you in June, and looking forward to it. And then and the door was over here on my left, but I was so nervous I didn't know where I was. I said, see you later, and I'll see you in June, okay. And then I just stood here trying to pretend like I meant to do this. And then I just kind of slid out. And that is actually, that's the same kind of comedy I wound up doing, and they did for many years on the show, but it really happened to me. As probably the consummate performer. She is here to inspire us, and she is one of the most inspiring performers I've ever seen. It's uplifting, just, you know, able to make people forget about what's going on, if it's not good. She was much looser, and she, again, scripted, but liberal about it. Now, it wasn't written in stone. Let's have fun with this, and find some. And there were some other shows that I did where it was basically what you saw when you got there at first reading. You got it on the show, and she had this wonderful honesty about her, and she was honest enough to let us in on her little private thing she had with her mother. You know, doing this. And but she would do the question and answer thing at the beginning of the show, and that was really wonderful, and people loved that. And it was all wing it time. She would, you know, and of course they would roll tape, and they would take what was the best part of it. You know, she was raised to be a friendly, caring person, and I think that. I think her friendship today with Jim Nabors is an example of that. It's been a long time since the show. Friends are friends. She's very loyal. You get with the director and the producer, who was her husband, and you say, well, what's good for you, and I had a record album, and we listened to a couple things, and they said that would be good, and so I did them. What a conceited song. I got so much loving in me. I want to spread it around. That's the whole message of this song. You don't do that. I Can't Get Started is a wonderful song, and I enjoyed it. And the other one never went anywhere. Nobody ever knew it. It just was one of those songs. But it makes me laugh to think that I would, to think of it in today's age, to sing a song, I'm going to spread it around. Get Together was rock, really. But it appealed to me. It's kind of a corny song now, but at the time, we were going through that Haight-Ashbury thing, you know, and so some thoughts were coming out of that, and that was their position. Let's all get together and love one another right now, and it's so that appealed to me, and it worked in my show. We had a nice arrangement of it, and it worked fine. I may not have chosen it if I had a chance to go back and do a couple things over again. I might not have done that one. Back then, a lot of singers like Steve Lawrence and myself, and we didn't know what to sing anymore because everybody was getting stoned and wearing funny clothes. And so we've always, one of the things I've observed about my friend Tony Bennett, he never changed. Neither did Steve. But I wore a couple of blousy shirts here and there, and I wasn't getting stoned, but I was wearing funny clothes. It took a week, but you weren't working all the time. You'd drop in and, like when I did the Red Skelton show, usually Tom Hansen was the choreographer, and I would spend a couple of days with him, routining, learning a little, not a very difficult dance routine, but something to move with the dancers. And there's one on YouTube that is kind of fun to watch once in a while. And I almost look like a dancer. I took dancing lessons, but I didn't take it seriously. It was fun to do the sketches too. I mean, that was a lot of fun because you're working with real pros, but you feel like you're in high school. You're having a good time. You're playing, and with Carol, it was absurd and you know, just nuts, but what organized nuts, you know, and like I did many sketches with Red Skelton, and that was the other person that was nuts. Another story, but anyway, Carol was really a lot of fun to work with. I'm shy, right? Okay, well that's the reaction. I mean that she got out of me by just kidding around. But I wasn't happy with that medley because I thought I was a little stiff. I thought I was a little not playful enough. And I hope she doesn't feel the same way. You don't, do you, Carol? They usually incorporated performers that they thought could handle it. Ruth Buzzy and I did a quick blackout, you know, where I was introduced to her. I came through the door, and she was extremely effective.